Make the most of your weekend with Ian Maurice and Chris Adams on Brisbane's own 1116 4BC.
It is 7 past 11, 13:32 is our number, and Nat mentioning a few showers around the place, one right here at the moment. So be careful on the roads, please.
Exactly.
Speaking of being on the roads,
yeah.
I recall many years ago now, and I'm pretty sure I'm right, and we'll check on this in a moment, that I went to a court case where a bloke was done for drink driving in a wheelchair. In a wheelchair. Now, a bloke recently has been convicted for drink driving on what a lot of people would regard as a toy, a motorised skateboard. Now, this is a bloke up at Bowen, and he was nicked for riding this thing on the road, and maybe that's the key to it, the common thing. Mm-hmm. I can't remember where the bloke in the wheelchair I covered was travelling, but it raises the question of just exactly what you can get nicked for driving if you've had a couple. And so we thought we'd get someone on to try and give us some answers on this. This guy's name is Andrew Wiseman. His web address, to give you an idea of what he specialises in, is www.duilaw.com.au. He is a lawyer from Wiseman's Lawyers. Morning, Andrew.
Morning, Ian. Morning, Chris.
Yeah, interesting. A tricky area, isn't it, of what you can get nicked on? And is it being on the road? Is that the key in this?
Look, the definition of driving, it's quite broad, and as is the definition of vehicle. But in a nutshell, if a person's in control of a propulsive force, that being a vehicle or even a horse or a motorised homemade skateboard, as is in this case, it is driving. The case law has been broadened to encompass a push bike without an engine, even though there's no real propulsive force other than your own legs. However, my understanding is that a simple skateboard without a motor on it would be sort of going outside of the definition, but it's certainly very broad, and in this instance, he was most certainly drink driving.
Okay. So Andrew, if you're in a motorised scooter, one of those mobility scooters, and you've had a couple of drinks too many, you can go?
Yeah. Basically, particularly if it's motorised, if there was no motor, I'd suggest that it wouldn't be deemed driving, but I suppose see a lot of these matters they are case by case, and precedents are set as you go along. But yeah, most certainly these mobility scooters, I mean, they are a vehicle, and I'm probably not.
And what if you're on the footpath with that?
Yeah, well, as much as you could pretty much be on private property almost. You're in control of a. As I said, propulsive force. There's a device that provides forward movement. You're in control of it. So effectively, you're driving.
Righto. I just going back through some stuff this morning when we knew we were going to talk to you, Andrew. I found a case where a bloke was convicted and fined $300 for drink driving his non-powered skateboard on a road. Yeah,
I saw that in the Courier Mail. I'm questioning whether he was actually charged with, because they don't list a disqualification there, and a disqualification of some form is mandatory. So if there was no disqualification as a part of the penalty, I'd suggest that he was probably charged with public nuisance or something like that. But without seeing the brief of evidence, obviously I'm just making an assumption. But I'd assume that it wasn't. He might have been drunk whilst on a skateboard, but I'm suspecting that the charge is probably more of a public nuisance charge.
Now, I mentioned that I thought years and years ago I went, and it was Redcliffe Court, I'm sure, I went to a case where a bloke was nicked for drink driving in a wheelchair. Do you think that may have been something along the same lines? I can't remember now, and I think there was another one up in Toowoomba where a woman in a wheelchair was charged as well. But again, I think she was charged with public nuisance or something like that.
Yeah, look, my initial response would be I'd expect that it would be public nuisance, but I guess, as I'm sure your listeners are aware, case law, it's an evolving beast, and every matter is sort of, obviously drink driving, person, vehicle, drinking, there's not a great mystery to each matter, but they are all unique, and I can only, assume that it probably was public nuisance, but each case is different, and, I suppose I can't really comment on those other than... Just saying that.
That's fair enough, mate. And as you say, these are very much individual things. Hey, as always happens when these things happen, we get a lawyer on to talk about matters relating to driving and the law. Someone's rung in with a question, mate. I hope you don't mind me dropping it on you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. If I can just qualify by saying they're not actually giving legal advice. I'm just having a chat.
Yeah, that's exactly right. This lady was booked for talking on a mobile phone, and this is the information she's given us, while parked, but the car was still running.
Look, keysing the ignition is control of a vehicle.
Right.
Okay.
So engine. I've even had clients who were they're putting stuff in their boot, but it's pretty black. Yeah, control of a vehicle. It's a very broad concept, and like you can be asleep in your vehicle with your keys in the ignition, and you're in control of the vehicle.
I saw a bloke got done like that the other day. The only problem was too that it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and his engine was still running. And he was asleep in the back seat.
Yeah. You know, a lot of the times the engines are warm, but I've had clients before who have, middle of winter, they're like one guy. He was up from New South Wales, staying at a cousin's, couldn't find his way home, but found his car. So he thought, well, I'm not going to stand in the street freezing to death. So he's got in, started the engine, got the heater going, and shut it down, and then was woken up by the police, and the engine was off, but it was still warm, and keys were in the ignition. So, it was more a case of minimising the damage rather than minimising the penalty rather than trying to get him out of it.
Keys in the ignition is the key.
Yeah. Well, control of the vehicle and keysing the ignition is one sort of, element that shows that you were in control, I suppose I could say.
Righto, Andrew. Look, appreciate your time this morning, mate.
Yeah, no worries.
Good on you. Good to talk.
Mate.
Thanks.
Andrew Wiseman.
Take care.
Good on you. Thanks.
See ya.
Andrew Wiseman from Wiseman Lawyers, and that website is DUIlaw.com.au.